This is the Rugby Odds, where an unlikely pundit panel of a wordsmith, a WWE legend, a rugby star, and a supermodel scour the globe, seeking best bets and bad behavior. Are you not entertained?
Thank you. I know the jacket's catchy, but stop the applause. It's unnecessary. I'm wearing it because I was down in Grenada and I'm feeling beachy. And if you haven't been, you got to go. Grenada Sevens. Anyway, look in the sponsor opportunity green room. You'll see John Bradshaw Layfield, the WWE Hall of Famer turned rugby advocate. King Gift Egbelu, the inventor of words. Mike Friday, the world-renowned Sevens coach. Steve Lewis of Elevate-Rugby.com and George Hook, the Irish rugby legend, and they'll all be addressing the goodies that are on the Your Company Name Here slate. Let's get to it. John, you look like you're eager to say something. Why don't you start off?
Yeah, I cannot believe Bath. Bath to me is just, they listen to you, Matt. They've got no balls whatsoever. And so they listen to these stupid analytics, which is ruining sports. And I'd love to get Mike's take on this, because Bath had them under pressure at La Rochelle. They're on the try line. They cannot stop them. They get a penalty, and what do? Right when they're under the sticks, they kick for points. And you can see the momentum switch the other way. I don't understand it whatsoever. They deserve to lose. Finn Russell kicked really well at times. He had one kick that went out. They had a line out that was a junior high error. I mean, Bath really lost that game more than La Rochelle earned it. But I'm so sick of these analytics and guys kicking for points when you have a chance for momentum to crush the other team, which they were doing. Mike, what is your take on that? I mean, the analytics to me, I mean, it's still about running the ball and tackling, right? I mean, I know I'm oversimplifying it.
It is about, like you said as well, they're just about building pressure on it, and they've just taken an easy three, sounds like. But you got to give credit to La Rochelle in the rain down at the Rec. You know,
terrible weather.
French streams don't travel well, but La Rochelle rocked up. Ronan had a word. Aldrich decided to party, and cracking game at the Rec in the rain. And one for the purists. And La Rochelle come up with a good. I mean, phenomenal. French away win. Gift would be turning.
Hey, it was a heck of a rugby game. It's what you love about sport. The wind was howling. The rain was coming down in sheets. It was a fun game to watch.
Yeah, and we got Gift's 2 cents on this, too. Let's check it out. So, Gift, because we had a scheduling conflict, you could not shoot with us as a group, but we got to get your wisdom. We got to get your 2 cents in on what you saw this weekend that caught your eye.
See, this is what happened whenever you're trying to travel too much and you do too much and you don't realize the schedule and you're changing everything up. Talking about you, Matt. All right, get it together.
Oh.
Get it together.
Oh, okay.
But you know what? Part of what would that
you hear that? That was those were the gloves dropping. Okay.
Oh, see, that's just chaos. It's chaos, and that's the same thing that the Sharks did absolutely on Exeter. Like, absolutely create chaos. Exeter is just a mess. They should never have been in this to begin with, and they haven't been winning. Just because you win last year doesn't make it. But you know what it does?
They got to plan the thing. You got to plan the thing. So they base it on last year's records, and they were good last year.
See, that's the problem. That's the problem. People are just trying to live off their laurels and not off of their present, and that's what happens. You live off your laurels, you fail hard. But you see in the present, you get people like Sia Khaleesi showing up why he is one of the best to ever do it. All right, man of the match for that game. Sharks and Marcus Malati continue to show why South Africa is just playing games with people at this point.
All right, and he's playing number 8, and he's saying he's loving it, so that's even better for the Sharks. A happy cappy, as they say. But how about Exeter being winless in the Premiership and now still remaining winless?
Look, again, you don't, what happened yesterday is not the same. There's a quote that goes, yesterday's price is not today's price. Normally you mean that to say you're increasing. For Exeter's case, they're losing value.
All right, Gift, go back to selling your food, and we'll come back to you later. No surprise that he is sticking his nose further up the South Africans' asses, even when he's not on the show.
Did you see the Sharks game? Did you see what they did to Exeter?
Yeah, well,
you would not be a hater if you did. If you had not had your head up Stephen Lewis's ass down in Grenada, you would have been watching the game and realized that South Africa, them boys are good. Exeter controlled that game for 22 minutes. absolutely on their control possession, control everything. All of a sudden, the Sharks decided to run, and there's a clear out there by somebody that if somebody had been there, it would have been a homicide. It was unbelievable. They get 2 tries right away, and you see the athleticism of Mumbipi, Fossey, all of those guys that could just flat at Khaleesi. Those guys can play rugby, man. They had underperformed last year. They looked this year, this game, like people thought they were going to look last year.
Well, we'll get to Mumbipi in a minute, but Mike, how about the performances of the number 9s across the board?
Well, what can you say about the piano players, the 9s? Cracking performances. George Horne, brilliant for Glasgow, got over for a hat trick. And then Baptiste Serin at Toulon. I mean, no mean feat, Toulon going down and doing the job on the Stormers. Again, another French team winning away. Ridiculous. I mean, absolutely ridiculous. And then the man, the moment, Dupont pops up for 1, makes 4, 76 metres gained. The bloke's box office. I mean, this is certainly the time for the short man. And I'm going to pay homage to the short men. They certainly delivered this weekend.
The kick to Kapawatsu for that try was off the breakdown. He just takes it a couple of steps and puts it like it was like a post pattern in the NFL.
Decent, and in a French game in the top 40, again, they're not afraid to have a crack like we were talking earlier. They're prepared to play open play, and they're prepared to do the kick passes. We saw another one in the Harlequins game where I think the rest, I'm not sure if it was LeGarrette or not, put the cross kick into the winger for an unbelievable score in the rain. So it's a big part of French of the French play, and all their 9s seem comfortable with the kick pass game.
Yep, and then I just had to mention Jordie Barrett making his debut with Leinster. What a debut it was. They were lackluster in the first half, lack of discipline, 2 yellow cards. Then in the second half, he spurred that comeback in a rout, basically, at Bristol. Meanwhile, Gary Ringrose almost split A.J. McGinty in half, and we'll see how A.J. McGinty's ribs respond to that. And that segues us to our recurring segment,
Grown Ass Man!
The nominees are Tom Willis, Saracens, who was huge again, Gregory Aldrich, who was relentless in Bath for La Rochelle, and Emmanuel Meafu. We know he's a giant, but he was absolutely massive for Toulouse in their dismantling of Ulster. Mike, who's your vote?
I'm going for Aldrich, delivered away from home. French team delivered away from home against Bath in the rain. So for me, he's the man.
John.
Willis, Saracens, and 2 Cents Rugby also. Call us.
All right, and Gift picked his man Manny from Toulouse, but I'm going to break the tie, and I'm going to pick Gregory Aldrich as well because he, as Mike said, won on the road. Gregory Aldrich
is this week's Grown Ass Man!
What happened with Saracens?
They won at home.
I know they won, but they looked god-awful last week. You got the Bulls coming in who've looked good at times, and Saracens look like the freaking best team in Europe.
What are you going to do? That's why we play the games, and that's why we take breaks. And we're going to take a commercial break right now and come back with you guys after George and Steve after this.
If you're in New York City and want to watch some great rugby, have some great food, and some great times, go to the world's best rugby pub, the Pig and Whistle on West 36th Street.
Welcome to Karani James Stadium. I'm here with none other than Steve the Lizard Lewis, here to observe the wonderful rugby at the Grenada Rugby World Sevens. Great day ahead.
Looking forward to it.
All right.
Back in the Caribbean, the commentary dream team, Matt McCarthy and John Broker, coming your way.
It's amazing.
And we are back, and we're back with Mr. George Hook and Steve Lewis. George is in Dublin having a good time. Steve is in Grenada having a good time. I'm in New York having a good time. George, how are you in Dublin?
Well, I'm good. I just thought with all you guys basking in the sun over the weekend, I should take my clothes off here in Ireland at 2 degrees and just pretend I'm basking in the sun.
Well, it's working. Stephen, how are you?
Excellent. You know, one different weekend, different Caribbean Sevens tournament. So quite happy with life.
All right. Well, George, Champions Cup. top of the slate for us today. Why don't you walk us through what you're thinking about?
Obviously, I mean, I have talked from an Irish connection, and we came to this weekend a little tense, really, and we were surprised, I have to say. First of all, there was Munster, who were absolutely super. They stuffed Stade Francais. I don't think you could say Stade were ready to play, but Munster were up for it. I have Crowley at a smasher match at fly half, Casey at scrum half. Ulster then just quite simply got blown away and were awful. And then Leinster had to go to Bristol. Now, let me talk to you about Bristol a bit, really. In the good old days of rugby, when Steve Lewis was in short pants, there were certain places in the United Kingdom it was hard to go to win a game. In Steve's beloved Scotland, to go down to the borders was a hard place to win. And then the other place was the West Country, Bath and Bristol, and you go a little bit further south. So Leinster going to Bristol, who are now second in the English Premiership, I thought it was going to be a difficult place to go. Leinster, disciplined Leinster, give away 2 yellow cards in 5 minutes. And Bristol are playing with Storm Dara behind them. So, I'm on the gin.
George, as well as the gin, make sure to take a breath. It's the longest I've ever heard you speak.
Yes, the stories are great, but we don't have time.
Anyway, Leinster were 13 men, get to half-time at 7-all. With 13 men?
Yeah.
In hockey, Bristol in the second half. So we're feeling pretty good here. We're feeling pretty festive in Ireland. And the French and the English got a bit to worry about.
Stephen, I know that you want to talk sevens, and we are limited in time, but I got to give you your shot to talk about Glasgow.
Yeah. Right over there is the Caribbean scene. I need to get in it again. But Glasgow beat the odds. They dispatched the Lancastrians, as I anticipated they would, quite comfortably. George Horne scoring a hat-trick and getting a yellow card before half-time. Virtuoso stuff from him. Edinburgh had gone down the night before to, as George mentioned, to Gloucester, and lost. Only other note, Adam Hastings out with a bad from the previous week, but now looks like a 6-month facial reconstruction thing. So he won't be playing Six Nations. That's probably the only other news from north of the border.
All right, and now let's segue to the sevens aspect of things. You're down in Grenada sevens. You've got the World Rugby sevens going on at the same time. Different kind of thoughts coming out from both.
Yeah, so second leg of the World Series was in Cape Town this weekend. Different format, a shortened format, which has managed to enrage both players, coaches, and fans. South Africa home team won it. Surprise pack at Spain, made the last 4 again for the second week. And from a US perspective, the men struggled. They got a win over Uruguay. They finished 10th rather than 12th. That's out of 12. So they are deep in relegation, doggy doo-doo already. And the women, however, by contrast, the US women have discovered a new cadre of young players, and they're going really well. They took second place to New Zealand women. But some real promising youngsters there. Tolliver, Thomas, Ramsey. She's played a little bit before, but the Ilona Mayers, the Sammy Sullivans, the Aled Kelters, who are all taking a year out, might want to make sure they're fit next year.
And Steve, the Grenada sevens, absolutely great, but maybe World Rugby can help, or somebody's got to figure out the scheduling so these smaller tournaments aren't competing with each other, specifically when the big tournaments are going on.
Well, there's no. I mean, the World Series is the World Series, right? So that's that. You've got Melrose Sevens, but there aren't a great many other now top-notch tournaments. I mean, obviously Dubai has a fantastic sort of shoulder tournament around the main event. But more to the point, it's not so much scheduling. There's just no support. I mean, this is a part of the world. I keep boring everyone week in, week out. But if you want the game to grow in countries like Jamaica and Trinidad and Grenada and Costa Rica, Nigeria, then sevens is the way to go. And these tournaments, there's not enough of them. These people love the game. They love the sport. People love being involved with it. But it's being deprioritized by World Rugby at its peril, at World Rugby's peril.
We're almost out of time, but before we let you go, we got to go to our recurring segment, George versus Steve, where you each pick a match. George, who do you like this weekend?
Well, somebody's been drinking gin this weekend. There's no doubt about it. Leinster at home to Claremont, and the suggestion is minus 22.5. I mean, I don't think that's just absolutely sensible. I don't think that's going to work. And it's not going, it just simply is not going to happen. And next week, if I'm wrong, I will eat humble pie live on this program. But that's not going to happen.
Well, you've been wrong about Leinster in the last 3 times, so we'll see what happens, or at least twice.
Well, I'm consistent, you got to say. And just before you go to Steve, the reason Spain are doing so well is I ran a coaching course there in 1972, and it's finally bearing fruition.
Excellent.
Excellent.
A word to the wise, George, with your humble pie. Whiskey makes you frisky, brandy makes you randy, but gin makes you sin. And with that, I'll move on to my pick. So the big game this weekend is in Glasgow. It's not in Toulon. It's the mighty Hoops, Glasgow Celtic against the Heathens in the League Cup final. Very, very important game. Celtic by 3. If you want a rugby prediction, the odds in Toulon with Glasgow are 5.5. I'm going to take a bigger Toulon victory than that. I think Glasgow have been overperforming. I think this could be the week they struggle.
Wow. I didn't see that coming. Anyway, guys, thank you very much for taking time out of your very busy schedules and your different locations and your different attire. Thank you very much.
The beach is my way.
On that note, we'll be right back after this.
From New York City comes America's longest running and most popular rugby show. The biggest names in Major League Rugby, MLR highlights, and big match previews. Rugby Wrap-Up presents MLR Weekly, made in New York City.
Hey, U.S. fans, you can tune into every match live on Flow Rugby. How do we know that? Because we're on there all the time. All right, we're back, guys, and it's time to pick our Investec Champions Cup Player of the Week. The nominees, George Horne of Glasgow with his 3 tries, Makazola Mapimpi, the Springbok sensation, swimming with the Sharks, and Jordie Barrett, the on-loan All Black, who spurred a rout in the second half versus Bristol for Leinster. Gift picked Mapimpi. John, who's your pick?
I'm going with King Egbelu, Mapimpi. That he was absolutely incredible. Exeter played as well as they could play. They could not match up with the athleticism, specifically of Mapimpi and Fosse. An outstanding game.
Mike,
Mapimpi for me.
I'm gonna throw a wrench in the works, and I'm gonna pick Jordie Barrett because he spurred that second half comeback in his first game with Leinster. But the winner is
good grief. Ireland is the new Italy.
That makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. But the Investec Champions Cup Player of the Week is Makazola Mapimpi of the Sharks. All right, now, guys, we have our Investec Champions Cup picks. John, who do you like?
Castre over Munster. Anytime I got a chance to bet against anything from Ireland, I'm betting against them. Castre all over Munster.
Well, Munster looked great last weekend, and, they forced 2
Because it wasn't a championship game. In a championship game, Ireland is the new Italy.
Again, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Mike, who do you like?
I'm going for La Rochelle to more than cover against Bristol. I think Bristol got battered. They're going on the road. La Rochelle at home are formidable, and they're obviously in the mood. They want this European. They want to make a statement. So La Rochelle, they're going to steamroll them.
And here's what Gift had to say. All right, Gift, once again, because of the magic of editing, we can include you in a show that you're not included in. So who do you like as the pick of the week in the Champions Cup?
We do what we got to do. But you know what? Speaking of doing what we got to do, last week we saw two major losses. A Marcus Smith-led Harlequins team absolutely faltering against a strong Racing 92 minus Owen Farrell. And then you had a Stormers absolutely just poorly representing South Africa against a Toulon team that actually won on the road. But this week is going to be the best match because these are two teams that need to prove themselves against each other. And there's a 17.5 spread favorable to the Harlequins on this, and I feel like this is way too much. Stormers have got to come back and show that they are still part of the South African renaissance of the 2020s this year, and look for them to cover the spread, but not get the win. I think Marcus Smith is going to show out and show up like he normally does and be able to get it at home.
Do you want to apologize to Mike Friday for saying that Saracens wouldn't cover or might not even win against your beloved Bulls, and to me, because I said Owen Farrell's Racing would beat your Marcus Smith?
See, this is what's already happened. You know, I apologize for nothing because, you know what? I didn't realize the Bulls decided to take off. They wanted to give...
All right, his mic is muted, ladies and gentlemen. This is a first of firsts because we've muted his mic and he's not really even on the show. So we'll try to unmute his mic and get his pick of the week later on. Well, Mike, at least he kind of apologized to you.
Rightly so. I mean, I was hurt. I was upset. But it's good to see that he was prepared to suck it up.
He's a humble man.
That's how men make amends. That's what we do here. And, Matt, you ought to apologize for liking ugly donkeys.
Well, I'm not going to apologize for something that's just fundamentally absurd. And also, I'm not going to...
It is absurd. You at least like good-looking donkeys.
Oh, it is just here's a layup, Johnny. Slam it down. And I'm not going to apologize to Gift for turning his mic off, even though the fact he really isn't on the show. It's the first ever in the history of the show to get your mic turned off when you're not on the show. But my pick going forward is going to be Toulon. -5.5 versus Glasgow. No comments? Anything? Nothing?
Yeah. I mean, I think whoever's given that spread was obviously high on something because Toulon were mustered away from home. I think they're going to do a job on that. It's probably quite warm down in Toulon, not cold. So Glasgow won't like that.
I wish I hadn't asked you to say anything. On that note, we got to take a quick break, and we'll come back with picks of the week after this. You need your cleats? You need them tomorrow? If you order today by 3 p.m. New York time or noon LA time, they can have them to you tomorrow. Young, old, male, female, if you're playing on turf, if you're playing on grass, if you're playing in the rain, you're playing in the heat, they've got you covered. RugbyNow.com. Go there now.
Shoulder, knee, bow.
Coach. Sir, you are wearing Jackal's paraphernalia.
Jackal, man. All I do is Jackal.
If you're in New York City and want to watch some great rugby, have some great food, and some great times, go to the world's best rugby pub, the Pig and Whistle on West 36th Street.
And we're back for John's favorite part of the show, Picks of the Week. Who you like, Johnny?
My favorite part of the show would be your eulogy, but fortunately, we're not there yet. So I'm going to go with Bath over Benetton. I don't know what happened to Benetton. They looked really good at times last year. They're not looking good this year. And Bath threw this game away. I think they're going to come back very strong.
Mike.
I'm gonna go for one that's going to upset the lads. I'm going to go for Ulster at home to beat Bordeaux. Brave, but coming to the north of Ireland, I don't think Bordeaux are going to fancy it.
Wow.
Oh, good call. Good call.
You're like, what is it with you? You're just
because that's Mike Friday. He's a legendary coach. He made a call, and I'm agreeing with him. So would King Egbelu if he was here, and we had the ability, would shut your microphone off and call 2 Cents Rugby and replace you immediately.
Judge Johnny on the fence. Holy shit, you can spin. Man, you're the best.
What's your language? 2 Cents Rugby doesn't cuss like that because he has a better command.
All right, John's has been muted. Let's take a look at what Gift had to say. And Gift, we're going to seamlessly insert you again because of the magic of editing. So who is your pick of the week?
Just like I dream of Genie, I dream of a renaissance back of South Africa. The Bulls absolutely disappointed us against the Saracens, decided not to try and give the world a feel. But this week, they're taking on Northampton at home. They have to represent at home. 12.5 points. I do think that spread is a little large, but I do believe that they're going to be bringing their full entourage, their full arsenal. And as much as Northampton is talented, I think the Bulls are going to actually cover that and get the win.
All right. Thank you, Gift. All right, John, your buddy, South African Renaissance.
He's the King Egbelu for a reason.
Mike, what do you think of that pick?
I think it's a safe bet. I think the Bulls are going to be up for retribution, and I think Northampton are going to be on the receiving end. I wonder how cold it'll be down there.
Let's go. It's the altitude and the chat. All right, Friday. Hey, Friday. I'm going to go with the over. The over.
Matt once talked about the long travel time between Joburg and Pretoria. It's got to be at least an hour and a half by bus.
I'm going to go with the over in the La Rochelle-Bristol match. And like that, guys, we're out of time. I can't believe we made it. I want to thank John Bradshaw Layfield, the WWE Hall of Famer turned rugby advocate, King Gift Egbelu, the inventor of word, and world-renowned sentence coach Mike Friday, Steve Elevate-Rugby.com Lewis, Irish rugby legend George Hook, and thank you for tuning in. Please check out our other segments, including MLR Weekly. Hit that subscribe button on YouTube. Sign up for our weekly newsletter. Tell your friends about us. Find us on social media. And join our American Red Cross blood donor team.
See you in!
Here we go, boys. Hey, it was great to come and conquer, but Captain be a chucker. He's going to say a few words. First of all, guys. I want to thank the Grenadians for having us here. The organisers of the Sevens Tournament and outstanding. Yes, referees, not so good. The other teams, not so good. Supporters, but this team, we met on the bus on the way to the airport. We conquered them all. I got a little few verses written down there.